How to always find the checkmate. Now that is actually a pretty nice idea to be able to do in all of your games. But when you're doing puzzles, it is much easier than doing it in your games because you actually have some specific ideas we can follow. For example, the first idea that I'm going to explain is going to be tempo. You always have to bring your pieces with a check or with an attack. Right now, you might be thinking, white can try to maybe do a checkmate by bringing the king to here, and then we can try to do this, which is a very, very nice idea. But the problem with doing this move is the knight can actually come over here to do a check to us, and then we have to move the king away. So we can't do a checkmate in a few steps like that. But there's actually a checkmate in 3 moves, and let's look into this. We can try to do a check with the rook, but then the king will escape, which is not going to be something we want. When the king is stuck in the back, we want to keep it there, and we want to keep attacking. And our king should also get away from the opponent's knight because there are so many checks the opponent can do to prolong this checkmate in 3 into something like maybe 4 or 5 move checkmate. So besides moving the rook to do a check, or maybe from d7, we can also try to push the pawn to e7. And again, we always need to think what the opponent can do, how they can reply. There's 2 options. They can go to e8 or they can go to c8. If the king goes to c8, we can push the pawn and promote it. If the king actually goes to e8, this is going to be a pretty cool move. We can bring our king to e6 to take this opposition. Now again, remember, we need to bring our pieces with tempo. However, when the king is on e6, the opponent's knight, cannot really do a check. To us, the black king cannot really escape, so if they try to capture our pawn like that, we can just bring the rook to a8 to do this checkmate. So the first idea is to bring your pieces always with tempo, right? This is going to be another example that we can do. We always want to start by looking at some checks. For example, we can bring the queen to g4, we can go to g5, we can go to g6, the rook can go to g6, we can capture the pawn on h6. Now if you look at any of those ideas, you see that if the black king plays the correct move, there is no checkmate in 3 steps. Not in this position. And if we bring the queen to any of these squares, the queen can be captured, same for the rook. But there is one other move, which is going to be queen h6. After queen goes to h6, we are forcing the opponent's king to go to g8, and now we can actually do a little maneuver, again, a check idea, to push the opponent's king to the h file. Depending on where they go, we can bring our rook to h6. So this is how we can bring your pieces with tempo. We want to do some checks, but sometimes in order to gain tempo, you need to do a tactic like a sacrifice. Now again, we are looking at all the checks we can do in this position, and you need to eliminate one by one which one can actually do better. For example, if you think of bringing the bishop to here, the opponent can actually go over to here. They don't always have to capture this. And now if we do a check, the queen can just capture that back. This plan didn't really work out. Now, if we want to gain tempo and you also need to use a tactic, it is generally going to be a sacrifice tactic. If queen goes to h7, we are technically forcing the opponent to capture us with the queen. If they don't capture us, they can also move the king to h8. But then our queen can go to g8, making a checkmate in 2. But if they do capture us with the queen, now we did use a sacrifice tactic to get the opponent's queen there, but we are going to be using the help of a pin to keep that queen on f7. Our rook can go to d8, forcing this knight to block, and then after that we can do this pretty cool looking checkmate. So this is the second way that we can try to do a checkmate in all positions. Think of sacrifice ideas. This really ties closely with the tempo idea. It is going to be a way we can try to gain tempo. Now, in this position, we actually have something very, very similar. We want to use tempo again to be able to find some checks, find some ways we can try to attack the king. Now right away we have queen c8, but the bishop is looking there. You can try to bring the rook to d8, but then the opponent's rook can block. But besides these two ideas, we don't have too many checks. Well, we don't have any checks at all. So let's start with rook d8. If you go to rook d8, the opponent has to block with their rook by going to e8. Now normally you're thinking right away of capturing this rook, but after they bring that the other rook, this is going to be pretty good. Black won't be getting checkmated. Now this is when we can try to use again a sacrifice idea, which is going to be a tactic to be able to gain the tempo again. By bringing the queen to f8, we're forcing the opponent into capturing us with the rook. Since our bishop was protecting the queen, they cannot capture this with the king. So after they capture us with the rook, since our bishop is still attacking the square, we can just bring our rook to do this checkmate. Alright. The last idea to do a checkmate in all positions is going to be actually the easiest one, which is contradicting all these tempo things, but it is possible. Sometimes there is no way for the opponent to prevent the checkmate. So you don't need to use any tactics, you don't need to use any tempo ideas, no forcing moves necessary. All you gotta do is imagine the checkmate. We need to visualize the idea. So in this position, if you bring this rook to e1, we're planning to bring the rook to e4. But there's actually no way for the opponent to prevent this, right? The king can't go anywhere, the rook can't do anything. So if they do an idea like that, we can just bring the rook to do that checkmate. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.